Good evening. Thank you all for being here. This is an exciting event that the RNC does every year. My name is Paris Denard. I am the Senior Communication Advisor for Black Media Affairs at the RNC. And this Black Republican Trailblazers event is happening virtually this year. And we cannot open up this ceremony without starting with the word of prayer. So I am so blessed to see my dear friend, strong, longtime Republican, surrogate donor, mega donor, and bundler for President Trump and others, Pastor Mark Little. So Pastor Little, if you please would open us up with the word of prayer.
Good evening, Paris, and thank you. I hope you can hear me. I'm here in the hills of Los Angeles, and oftentimes this falls out, so I'm going to pray fast. How about that? But I'm so excited to be with all of you tonight and experience this event once again. The word of the Lord is in Galatians 6 and 9. It says, "Let us not grow weary in well-doing, for in due season we shall reap." One version says, reap a harvest if we do not grow weary. One version says, if we faint not. And I think that that is a word for us in this season. So let's go before the Lord in a quick word of prayer. Father, we thank you, oh God. We thank you for tonight, oh God. We thank you for those who we will honor. First, God, we want to give thanks for your guidance, especially in this season. A guidance, oh God, that allows us to continue to hear your word. Thank you for your protection. And thank you for the comforting of the Holy Spirit. And we want to thank you, oh God, for the excellence that is represented in this call, in this room. We want to thank you, oh God, for their leadership and their commitment, even, oh God, to godly principles as they help guide us and our nation. Now I pray blessing, oh God. I pray blessing upon our leadership. I pray blessing, oh God, upon our honorees. I pray blessing, oh God, upon everyone, oh God, who is a part of this journey. It's a journey, oh God, to lift up a standard in our nation. And we ask that you continue to bless us and keep us. And let us, oh God, meet yet again this time next year. In the name of Jesus, I pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Pastor Little. I always enjoy hearing your words, and not too many people can say that they have prayed for the President of the United States in his presence like you have done and laid hands on him. And so we thank you again for opening our event up in a word of prayer. I am excited to introduce our first speaker. She has become a great friend. She is someone whom you all know has been a strong leader in the Republican Party for many years, on the grassroots level especially. This person served as the senior advisor to the Trump 2020 campaign. And before that, she was the national spokesperson for the Trump campaign back in 2016. This person you all know is a great leader, a great friend, and she was our 2020 honoree for the RNC Black Trailblazers Award. So please join me in welcoming Katrina Pierson.
Oh, thank you so much, Paris. What an honor it is to be here this evening. And having been the 2020 recipient of the Trailblazer Award was truly an honor. And it was also significant to me personally, considering, the work and all of the efforts that we've put in, being an activist, for 12 years now in the party, to be able to have such an achievement in opening up offices all across the country in Black and Brown communities was, truly a historic moment. So it is truly my honor to have received the Trailblazer Award for 2020. And now we have two other amazing recipients this evening, Dr. Carson, Dr. Adams. I admire both of the, they should have received it before me. But I admire them both so greatly because they have been amazing voices for the community, such strong leaders in their respective fields. And, what an honor it is to have both of these gentlemen, in the party and speaking on behalf of the movement and growing our efforts on the ground. And, I want to take a moment just to look back on 2020, specifically because of the work that the RNC specifically put into this process, moving us forward, and I would call progress even in the movement. Ronna, Romney, McDaniel was truly instrumental in this. And, I always brag on her every opportunity I get because it would not have been possible to make the strides that we made in communities of color without her support, without her team, and the efforts that were put in. Chris Carr, Elliot Eccles, these guys were great. They hit the ground running, opened these offices. And I just got to tell you what the impact it was, so that moving forward, everyone listening knows the commitment of the party and the community, which has not been done before. And so we really are on a new horizon. And we have to keep this momentum going, because I have to tell you, from my personal experience, in being some of these community centers, they want us there.
Yes.
And one of the things that I've learned along the way is to tell Republicans that they want us there, because they just simply didn't know. And I used to always talk about, going after the Black vote, courting the Black vote. You do it the same way you do the white vote. You show up, tell them who you are, what you represent, and ask for their support. And that's exactly what President Trump did. And with the help of the RNC, it was very successful. You've seen the numbers that came out. I mean, it was just truly unheard of for 15 offices to be open in minority communities, to be fully staffed. And my heart goes out to everyone, if they're on this call tonight, that actually went to these offices, that worked these offices, and they've seen it. I did my best to hit every last one of them during the campaign cycle, just to thank them. And to be an important presence there, and to show that support and commitment, not just from me personally, but just from the party. And, I think it really did make the opposition nervous to see the commitment and the efforts that the party put in place, whether it be opening these community centers, whether it be purchasing a Black-owned newspaper ad, something else that had not been done before. I mean, we actually forced Democrats to invest in Black press this cycle. So these are huge accomplishments. Despite the results in November, I believe that our momentum is just beginning. I've seen it on the ground. I'm still receiving messages. There's a lot of support to continue the movement inside the party and outside the party. So I just wanted to give a word of encouragement to everyone on the call that our work is just beginning, and that now we do have the support of the party. I think we've proven that there is an appetite out there to have conservative values presented in the community. And we know this well after launching Black Voices for Trump. And as I mentioned before, being involved in grassroots in the Republican Party for over a decade, rarely would I see more than a handful of Black Republicans in a room. And when President Trump launched the Black Voices Coalition, several hundred Black supporters showed up in Atlanta, Georgia, and the crowds continued to grow. From there, the Black Voices for Trump Coalition actually grew to be the largest coalition in the president's campaign, whether it be 15 offices, 37 board members, 255,000 members. I mean, it was truly a celebration in the office when we beat Women for Trump as far as membership. So my hat goes off to all of you on the call that worked so hard on that. I know there were so many hours put in, a lot of pushback from the other side. But what we know now is that there are a lot of supporters out there who are not going to be silent this next time around. We see what Joe Biden is doing. The appetite is there. And I just want everyone to stand strong and to move forward with the party and the conservative movement. And I just want to thank everyone for joining us tonight. This is truly a remarkable evening. And thank you, Paris, for all the work that you've done throughout the years. And I'm happy to be of service moving forward, because I have to tell you, being out there on the ground, I'm very excited, and the momentum is there. And it's truly inspiring. We just have to keep pushing the message of criminal justice reform, school choice, police reform, economy, entrepreneurship, and immigration, surprisingly. So I commend everyone for being on here tonight. Thank you all so much for having me. It was my honor to be the awardee last time, and I just want to congratulate our recipients this year, Dr. Carson, Dr. Adams.
Well, thank you, Katrina. You are certainly someone that I look up to and I'm inspired by, and you didn't get the credit that you deserved in these past two elections for being a tremendous mind, political mind, communication mind on the campaign, but also the credit that you deserve for being a Black woman doing this in the Republican Party at this level. It's significant, it's important, it's historic. You are the reason why we honored you in 2020, and we thank you for your comments tonight.
Oh, thank you, Paris.
Absolutely.
I love you guys.
Thank you. The Republican National Committee is so fortunate to have many great leaders that serve on our governing board, which we call the 168, which 168 members that make up the Republican National Committee. That encompasses the people who are state chairs, and that also includes people who are national committee men and women. In the state of Texas, we have a Black man who serves as the party chairman in the person of Colonel Allen West, former congressman. And for our national committee man in the state of Texas, we have someone who has served since 2012. So he is a phenomenal spokesperson for the RNC, for the Republican Party, for conservative values, and he has led in providing a voice to communities of color and just to a lot of Republicans who were looking for answers on the issue of health, especially during COVID-19 as a physician. So please welcome our National Committee man from the state of Texas, Dr. Robin Armstrong.
Thank you, Paris. Thank you so much for having me on this evening, and thank you so much for just including me in this great event. You know, I'm a practicing physician, an internal medicine physician here in Texas, and I have been a frontline physician. I've taken care of thousands of patients, coronavirus patients, and it's amazing to see what has happened scientifically over the last year and a half, and how this President Trump has pushed this issue and saved many hundreds of thousands of lives. You know, we were the first nursing home here in the country to treat a large group of elderly patients in a nursing facility with an off-label medication. And we saw great success in that. And it was tremendous. We've seen great success in some of the other therapeutics that have come about, like the monoclonal antibodies, remdesivir. All these treatments have come about because of the leadership of two of our honorees tonight, Dr. Jerome Adams and Dr. Ben Carson, serving on that COVID task force. You know, this has been, from a science perspective, it's been amazing how President Trump has led, how Dr. Ben Carson has led, how Dr. Jerome Adams has led us through this pandemic. And from someone who is treating patients on the front line, I just want to thank you. And I can tell you there's lots of physicians all over this country who are extremely thankful for the job that you all have done in leading us to this place. I have never seen in science, I've never seen therapeutics come out this quickly. Some of these monoclonal antibodies that have come forth, Regeneron and bamlanivimab, medicines that we're using at this time today. You know, I actually prescribed that medication, the monoclonal antibodies, 3 times on patients today. That medication is saving lives in this COVID pandemic. Medications like remdesivir, which the president also got, we prescribe that all the time in the hospital. We prescribe medications like the vaccine that have just come out as well. That we're seeing people vaccinated all over the country now, which is saving lives. And I'll tell you, the media certainly has its thoughts about how this COVID-19 pandemic was handled. But I can tell you, as a frontline physician who have taken care of thousands of patients, the treatment and the strategies that have been laid out for controlling this pandemic and getting a handle on this pandemic have been professional and have been just stalwart. I've been so impressed with it. Never before have we seen the FDA approve medications like we've seen come out. Never before have we seen medications brought to the general public through this private public partnership that President Trump created, and that the COVID-19 task force created. We've never seen anything like this before, and it is saving lives on the ground. And I'll tell you, it's saved a lot of African American lives. You know, I've had the pleasure of living in Galveston County, and we've taken care of lots of African American patients who are obviously very concerned about this pandemic, as it's hit our community particularly hard. And I've seen a lot of patients benefit from these therapeutics that were pushed hard by President Trump and pushed hard by the COVID-19 task force, pushed hard by two of our honorees tonight, Dr. Jerome Adams and Dr. Ben Carson. And so as a physician, as a scientist, I just want to thank you for the hard work that you've done in treating patients, because you've made our job a whole lot easier. We have been able to save many, many lives that would have been lost, hundreds of thousands of lives, I believe, that would have been lost had we not had the therapeutics available to us like we've had. And so thank you for that, for the physicians on this call. I also want to make mention of something that Katrina talked about as well, and how as RNC committee man for Texas and watching what's happened all over the country, you know, it's been pretty amazing how the Republican National Committee has engaged the African American community. I was honored to be a part of that rollout that the president did, making promises to the African American community and to engage the African American community. And I'll tell you, that has had had tremendous effect. It was something that we had never seen before. As Katrina mentioned, opening up these 15 offices all around the country. I had opportunity to visit some of those offices, and the excitement there was just palpable. And as Katrina said, I think the best is yet to come. I'm so excited because, you know, in this time where the Democrats really aren't offering anything for the Black community, they're not offering any policies that are helpful. We look at the successes of President Trump, and so we have a message to deliver through the African American community. We have a message that is important on healthcare, and how we want to protect pre-existing conditions, and how we plan on presenting plans that actually will improve access and quality of care. We have a message in how we can bring on entrepreneurs into the African American that are in the African American community and grow them to large business owners. You know, we've got a plan on how we can just address the problems, you know, criminal justice reform, and how we're giving folks a second chance at opportunities to succeed in this great nation. And so we Republicans have a story to tell. We have a great story to tell. And I'm excited to work with leadership and men on this call, and Ronna McDaniel, our chair. I'm excited to work with you all in the future, because we certainly have a positive message that we can bring. And I believe that in the near future, we're going to see those messages just solidify and take hold. And we're going to see numbers increase as far as our Black voters. In 2022, I suspect we're going to see that. 2024, we'll see that. And so it's exciting to be a part of it. I'm excited to be a part of the 168 right now. I'm excited to work with this chairman and co-chair of the RNC. I'm excited to work with physicians all over the country in developing ways that we can treat patients without political involvement. You know, I'm just excited about going forward and moving ahead, because, you know, the best is yet to come. The best is yet to come. And Paris, I want to thank you for all the work that you've done. Thank you, Katrina. Thank you, Dr. Carson. Thank you, Dr. Adams. Your leadership has brought us to this point to where we are vaccinating folks all over the country, and it's brought us to the point where you have truly saved lives. And so thank you, and God bless you.
Well, thank you, Dr. Armstrong. We really appreciate your service and your remarks tonight. It is my distinct honor and privilege to introduce someone who really doesn't need an introduction, but I'm going to give one anyway. When this person asked me to come on to the RNC, she said, Paris, I want you to make sure the party goes to every place where Black Americans consume their news. If it's on television, if they get it on Fox News, then I want you to be on Fox News. If they get it on the Black News Channel, then be on the Black News Channel. If they're on Black radio, make sure you're on, the conservative radio, but also be on Black radio as well. If they're reading their newspapers and getting it from the major papers and the big papers, do it there, be on there, get quotes there. But also, if they are reading Black newspapers as well, I want the RNC and our message to be in Black newspapers. I took her for her word, and she was 100% serious about it. And it is my honor to be working at the RNC, continuing the work that we are doing to make sure our message, our party, gets into Black publications and gets before the Black community. When we look at this event that we're having tonight, there was talks of canceling it. Should we have it because we couldn't gather in person? The chairwoman, Ronna McDaniel, said, we are having this event. We're going to do it via Zoom. We're going to be respectful of COVID-19, and we're going to do it in a way that honors some Black Republican leaders who have led the way to make sure that the nation has gotten to the place that we are through Operation Warp Speed and through the miracle of the COVID-19 vaccine. She had the leadership ability, the foresight, and the intentionality to make strategic investments in the Black community in 2020 and continue those efforts today. This woman is serious about engagement. She did it in Michigan, and she's been doing it on a national level. Please join me in welcoming our fantastic, and I think one of the most successful RNC chairs in history, Ronna McDaniel.
Oh, thank you, Paris. You definitely are going to keep your job for a long time. That was such a good introduction. No, it is so great to see you all. I wish I could be with you in person, but Pastor Little, I love seeing your face. Robin Armstrong, thank you for that heartfelt that heartfelt speech. And I'm thinking about the doctors that we have in our midst tonight that are true heroes in a time of crisis. And just bless you. Thank you for you. Paris, thank you for all you do. And Katrina, who has just been my partner. And I just think she's one of the most amazing, passionate, driven, committed women I've ever met. And she had this vision for a better, more meaningful engagement in the Black community from the Republican Party. And she has been banging that drum for years. And I think we have started. It is beginning. We need to do more. We can always do better. But I'm so appreciative of all of you. And of course, Katrina was our Trailblazer Award winner last year. And this year, we are so excited to have Dr. Adams with us and Dr. Ben Carson. I can't think of a more fitting time for them to be our recipients than right now, coming out of this pandemic. You are not just trailblazers, you are heroes. So thank you so much for what you have given to our country. And I am so glad that we have the opportunity to, in a small way, recognize you and thank you. And my dad got the vaccine yesterday. My mom got it last week. And I think about the lives that have been saved because of your leadership and your quick action, your level heads through a very difficult time. And I look forward to introducing you more later. But I do want to just briefly talk about the Republican Party in Black History Month. I did an op-ed this week talking about how it's convenient that the mainstream media often forgets the contributions of the Republican Party during Black History Month. I was watching TV the other day and they were showing all these wonderful, wonderful leaders, but none of them were Republicans. And I thought that's not right, that we aren't sharing that the first 21 Black Americans to serve in the House of Representatives in 1870 were all Republicans. The first 3 Black Americans to serve in the Senate were Republicans. Obviously, we know we are the party of Lincoln. We were founded as an anti-slavery party, and there are so many wonderful contributions from Black Republicans that aren't shared enough with our kids and in our communities and in our schools. People like Clarence Thomas and Condoleezza Rice and Ida B. Wells and Thomas Sowell, and the name goes on and on and on. So Black History Month is an opportunity for us to celebrate these leaders, but also educate others and remind them that the values and principles that define our party today have been that way from the very beginning. And by staying true to these values and by continuing to engage with the Black community, building on the foundation we laid last year, I know our party has a bright and exciting future ahead. at our Trailblazers event last year, we talked about all the things we were going to do in 2020. And we had no idea when we gathered what we were about to come up upon as a country, because we had met in person and the pandemic hadn't happened. And of course, life changed after that event. But we did accomplish many of the things we set out to do. And of course, we would love for President Trump to be our president again. But let's focus on some of the things that we did achieve in 2020 and stepping up our efforts to engage Black Americans and engage our party. We had over 24 Black Republicans on the ballot last year as our nominees all across America, and 60 Black Americans who ran for the nomination. From these candidates, we saw 2 new Black Republicans elected to Congress, Representative Burgess Owens from Utah and Byron Donalds of Florida. And additionally, we saw Mark Robinson elected as the new Lieutenant Governor of North Carolina. We followed President Trump's lead and expanded minority voter engagement as a party by launching a multi-million comprehensive Black outreach strategy. Katrina talked about it, opening 15 Black voices for Trump offices in Michigan, Wisconsin, Florida, Pennsylvania, North Carolina, the list goes on and on. We staffed them. We were engaged in our community centers. We had 2,000 bookings on Black media outlets, and this paid off. But it paid off not just because we opened offices, but because of the message we took to these communities. And one of the reasons I was so passionate coming in as chair of Michigan is I knew as a party we were not showing up enough and we needed to do better. And if we could have that dialogue and that conversation and talk to people in the Black community who didn't see Republicans, who weren't seeing Republicans in their local picnic or on their city council, if we'd had these conversations, not only would we be able to listen and be a better party, but we would have a conversation and introduce people to our party and what we stand for. And as Katrina said, those offices, when we went in, and I went to several of them, the passion, the energy, it was the best visit we had because we talked about things like school choice and economic opportunity zones. And we talked about the record low unemployment we saw under President Trump. So many great things, the First Steps Act, so many amazing things that came out of this administration that we were able to talk about and open people's eyes to our party in a way that they've never seen us before. And that is what we have to continue to do. And through this election, we saw the inroads we made through good policy and conversation. President Trump received 20% of the vote from Black men, and he doubled his support among Black women voters. This is just the beginning. And I hope you all saw that the RNC just committed $2 million more to continuing these offices and continuing this engagement long term. This is not a talking point. This is a mission for our party. We need to represent this country and we need to represent Black America. And we can only do it if we're in Black communities. And that is something that I'm passionate about. And I'm so grateful for all of you and all that you have done. We had some other really exciting things that happened this last election. Not a single House Republican who ran for office that was an incumbent lost. We picked up 15 seats in the House, and we now have a record 30 women serving in the House of Representatives. And the Democrats' lead in the House is just 5. Nancy Pelosi is 5 seats away from not being the speaker. It's amazing. We flipped a governor seat in Montana, flipped state houses in New Hampshire, and retained control of state houses in key states like Florida, North Carolina, and other states that the Democrats hope to control heading into redistricting. Lots of these victories should give us confidence and an optimism heading into 2022. And I just want to end by thanking all of you for being trailblazers in your community. I wish I could be with you all because I know it would be a great celebration. But next year, I look forward to getting together and having a great celebration of all we've achieved and all that we're continuing to do. Because as Katrina and Paris said, Black History Month isn't just one month of the year. This is something we're going to be engaging in at the RNC every month, and the best is yet to come. So thank you. It is now my great privilege to honor some of our rising stars. These are our future. They're so exciting and young, and They were invested in our offices, our RNC community centers, and their leadership is paving the way for the future of our party. So I'm going to list their names and their state. They're all getting certificates, so don't worry, you're not going to see them on the screen. But these are our rising stars for 2021, and I hope you'll join me in honoring them. Garrison Douglas from Georgia, Yvette Morrow from Wisconsin, Krishana Polite from North Carolina, Keisha King from Florida, Beatrice Thomas from Florida, Alex Crispin from Florida, Nico Carroll from Florida, Lester Goodman from Florida, Barbara Clark from Ohio, Talisa Martin from Ohio, and Brandon Brown from Pennsylvania. Congratulations to our 2021 Rising Stars. Okay, now to the fun stuff. We get to honor our Trailblazers for this year, and I am so honored to have them with us. And I hope you received your awards. We had some storms. I don't know if you noticed, we had a little snow. And oh, look, Ben has it's Dr. Carson. We were hoping they were in transit today. But even with everything that our country has gone through, these two men were there for the largest national mobilization since World War II, leading us through a pandemic like we've never seen before in our country, with calm hands, cool heads, and their profession, their expertise. And they aren't just trailblazers, as I said earlier, they are heroes, they're personal heroes of mine. And I am so proud and honored to recognize them as our 2021 Trailblazer honorees. Dr. Jerome Adams is an anesthesiologist and a former Vice Admiral in the U.S. Public Health Service Commission Corps. He served as the 20th Surgeon General of the United States from September 2017 until this past month, and he helped lead President Trump's whole of government response to the coronavirus. I remember many, many days tuning in to TV with my kids and my husband, watching him on TV, and the calm that it brought to our nation during a time of uncertainty will never be forgotten. Prior to being Surgeon General, he served as the Indiana State Health Commissioner from 2014 to 2017. Dr. Adams, congratulations on being recognized with our Trailblazer Award. The floor is now yours.
Wow. Well, thank you so much for this honor that was unexpected and certainly appreciated more than you know. Unfortunately, my award is still in transit, so it was nice to see Dr. Carson holding his up because I know what to expect. But I just want to start off by saying thank you to Paris, who has just been a tireless advocate for the truth, for making sure people understand all sides of some very complicated issues. Thank you to Katrina for the work that you've done and for supporting me. I love your comments about making sure we have representation at the table. And you've really been a huge warrior for representation. Thank you, Dr. Armstrong. I'm so proud of you, and it always makes me proud to see another African-American male physician. Unfortunately, there are fewer African-American males who are entering and graduating from medical school now than what there were over 30 years ago. And so if you haven't had a chance, I'm actually part of a documentary called Black Men in White Coats that came out in Black History Month. And it talks about the challenges that we face with African-American representation in higher levels of leadership, but particularly in the health professions. And Chairman McDaniel, thank you for being here today. Thank you for those incredibly kind words. And I just want to tell you all a story that I've told often when I was Surgeon General about one other person who you're going to hear from in a bit. But I have to tell you this story. I had a 3.9 GPA throughout high school. I did pretty darn well and had potential to be whatever I wanted to be. But I never, ever even dreamed of being a doctor, because even though I was in the hospital quite frequently when I was younger due to my asthma, it wasn't until I was in college that I met a Black physician, that was the first time in my life I'd met a Black physician, and that Black physician was Dr. Ben Carson. And so I tell you that story because one of the great honors of my tenure as Surgeon General has been the opportunity to work alongside one of my own personal heroes, and quite frankly, the person without whom I would not have been a physician. None of us got to where we are alone. We all stand on each other's shoulders. And in many cases, those shoulders are the shoulders of giants. And Dr. Carson is truly a giant. Again, Katrina, thank you for your remarks, because representation throughout politics and across government matters. One of my favorite sayings is that if you aren't at the table, you're on the menu.
Yes.
Far too often, we find ourselves on the menu because we either aren't given the opportunity to be at the table or we choose not to be at the table. Paris and I spoke about this a few days ago. I just feel I have to disclose to you all that if you go to my Wikipedia page, you'll see that I've long told people that though I share many conservative values with you, I think of myself as an independent. And that's not because I have an aversion to either party. Neither party has a monopoly on good ideas or on bad ideas. But the one thing that I can and will say that is absolutely true is that if not for Republican support and trust, I would not have been the 20th United States Surgeon General. Then Governor Mike Pence gave me the opportunity to be his state health commissioner. And of course, then President Trump gave me the opportunity to serve as the 20th Surgeon General. So one thing I can say for certain, for me personally, is that I would not have achieved all that I've achieved in my life if it weren't for the support of the Republican Party. And you see other African-American males, people like Dr. Lewis Sullivan, who was the first African-American male HHS secretary. He was given that opportunity by George H.W. Bush. And Dr. David Satcher, who served under Clinton, but who really will tell you himself got his springboard through his work with Ronald Reagan. Again, we can't do this with just one party or just the other party. We need representation, and we need to hold all parties accountable to equity and to making sure we're at the table. Public service matters, and we can't take 2 years or 4 years or 6 years off, no matter the party in charge. You just need to ask Dr. Satcher, Dr. Sullivan, ask me that question and we'll tell you. And we can't afford to let either party ignore us or take us for granted. And that's why I want to congratulate the rising stars who were recognized tonight, because they're stepping up, they're making sure their voice is heard. And I want you to know how incredibly important that is, especially now in the world we're living in. We also have to remember that there's more that unites us than separates us. And if we focus on what unites us, continue to stand up for what we believe in, and protect the vulnerable, the underserved, and the unheard. If we work on giving everyone the opportunities that we all deserve to make good choices and healthy choices, then I'm confident that despite the challenges we face, we'll be all right. This pandemic has been a terrible challenge. Compared to 2019, you probably heard in the news, life expectancy for non-Hispanic Blacks in the US fell about 3 times what it did for non-Hispanic whites. It fell by twice as much for Hispanic people. This really should shock us all. But we also have to remember this pandemic brings great opportunities for partnerships with faith communities. And I just left one of the major churches here in Indianapolis right before I got on this phone call, where we were having a conversation about vaccine hesitancy. So I'm so glad to see Pastor Little is still on the call. And I want to encourage you, Pastor Little, to reach out to me, reach out to Dr. Armstrong, reach out to Dr. Carson, and let's continue to talk about how we can leverage the faith community, lift up collective health. We've got an opportunity to make sure people recognize disparities in health and in economic outcomes. And I want to encourage you all as we close to embrace this year as a year to rebuild and reshape our systems and our nation, because that is what trailblazing is really all about. It's what you're all about, and it's what tonight is all about. So thank you for the opportunity to serve as your 20th United States Surgeon General, and thank you for for this incredible honor.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Adams. I so appreciate that. And we're hopeful that you'll get your award soon. I'm so glad Dr. Carson had it so that you could at least get a preview of what's coming in the mail. But again, thank you for your leadership and congratulations. Now I get to introduce our second Trailblazer Award winner, Dr. Ben Carson. I know Dr. Carson fairly well. We've spent a lot of time together on the campaign trail. He and his lovely wife, Candy, they are the most adorable couple, I have to say, truly in love and fun to be around. And he's also from my home state of Michigan. So we have that in common. I'm going to read a little bit of his background, but if we read all of his accomplishments, it would take all night and all the next day. So I'll give you a synopsis. Dr. Carson is a retired neurosurgeon and founder of and chairman of the American Cornerstone Institute. He served as the 17th Secretary of Housing and Urban Development under President Trump. And prior to being a leader in the world of politics, we know he was a pioneer in the field of neurosurgery. For nearly 30 years, Secretary Carson served as Director of Pediatric Neurosurgery at Johns Hopkins, a position he assumed when he was just 33 years old, becoming the youngest major division director in the hospital's history. Boy, that's amazing. By the time he retired from medicine in 2013, Dr. Carson was a professor of neurosurgery, oncology, plastic surgery, and pediatrics at the Johns Hopkins School of Medicine. He has received dozens of honors and awards in recognition of his many, many achievements, including the Presidential Medal of Freedom, the nation's highest civilian honor. He has also authored 9 books, 4 of which he co-wrote with his lovely wife, Candy. Dr. Carson and his wife co-founded the Carson Scholars Fund, which recognizes young people of all backgrounds for exceptional academic and humanitarian accomplishments. And I am so pleased to see him well tonight. We know that he suffered from coronavirus, and it's nice to see him. And it is a tremendous honor, as Dr. Adams said, to welcome a giant, a hero, a trailblazer. Please join me in welcoming and congratulating Dr. Ben Carson.
Well, thank you so much, Ronna. Thank you for the incredible job that you're doing as the chair. It's been absolutely fantastic and has really made a difference and has grown the party. And thank you, Paris Denard, for the work that you've done and everybody who's been involved in this. And I'm particularly honored to be in the presence of Jerome Adams, and you can see it again. It's a very nice Crystal Award, which you'll be getting very soon. I can't think of anybody who deserves it more, because I think Jerome Adams is the first Surgeon General since C. Everett Koop who has general name recognition. People actually know who he is, and that means you've really made a tremendous impact. You know, I am grateful for this recognition. You know, the Republican Party really has a very strong history in the Black community, and it's been hidden. But, you know, I was a Democrat for a very long period of time, and it was really Ronald Reagan that changed me. I did something your Democrats not supposed to do, and that's listen to a Republican. I listened to Ronald Reagan, and I said, he sounds just like my mother. And, you know, she was always talking about, you know, you're not a victim. You can do anything that you set your mind to. And, you know, she forced us to read books. When everybody else was having a good time outdoors playing, we had to read books. And her friends would say, you can't make boys stay in the house and read books. They'll grow up and they'll hate you. And I used to overhear them, and I would say, Mother, you know they're right. But it didn't matter. We were still going to have to read those books. And as I began to read about, you know, scientists, explorers, surgeons, entrepreneurs, you know, I began to realize that the person who has the most to do with what happens to you is you. Personal responsibility. And that was something that Ronald Reagan emphasized also. The fact that you could go much further if you develop the abilities and the skills, as opposed to waiting for somebody to hand you something. And, teaching a man to fish rather than giving him a fish. And that's a Republican concept. And it's much more meaningful. And the fact of the matter is, even though a lot of people are told, it's told that they're just lazy and they want handouts, I guarantee you that the vast majority of people would rather have a job, would rather be making it on their own. And it really is abominable that we have so many policies that tend to lead to dependency. But that is something that the Republican Party should be proud of, the fact that we are trying to get people to be self-sufficient and really be able to understand the American dream. We have so many who now concentrate on making minorities, and particularly Blacks, feel like they're victims and that somebody else is responsible for any problems that they're having. And those same people try to impose guilt on whites. And let me tell you something, it's a fatal combination. Black victimhood and white guilt, it results in things like abolish the police and absolutely untenable policies. And we want to get rid of those things and really just bring back common sense. Common sense seems to be lacking. And that's another reason that, I think the Republican Party is something that will appeal to a lot of people, regardless of their ethnic background, because there are a lot of people who do have common sense and are able to reason things out, are able to see what's going on. In terms of the prior administration, the emphasis on HBCUs, on prison reform, opportunity zones, a whole host of things. It's kind of funny because people say that, President Trump was a racist, and you look at all the things that he did in the Black community. If he's a racist, he's the worst one ever. And, he needs to go take some lessons from some other people. But I think we really need to spend a lot of time emphasizing the positive things that have happened in the Black community, not only with respect to the Republican Party, but with respect to America. You think, for instance, of Henrietta Bradbury, a Black woman who invented the underwater cannon, made it possible to launch torpedoes from submarines. And Madam C.J. Walker, a Black woman who developed cosmetic products for women of dark complexion, was the first woman of any nationality in the United States to become a millionaire on her own efforts. You look at people like Lewis Latimer. He was Thomas Edison's right-hand man, a Black man. He was the one who came up with the filament that made the light bulb work for more than 2 or 3 days. He invented the electric lamp. He diagrammed the telephone for Alexander Graham Bell. He was a tremendous inventor in his own right. Most people have never even heard of him. Elijah McCoy, the automatic lubrication system for locomotive engines. He had so many great inventions. People would say, is that a McCoy? Is that the real McCoy? They don't even know they're paying homage to a Black man. But it really shouldn't matter what the color of a person's skin is. I can talk about virtually every ethnic group in this country and the tremendous contributions that they made. Our diversity is not a problem. It is a blessing. Mm. And we need to stop listening to the purveyors of division. We try to divide us on the basis of race, religion, age, income, sex, you name it. They try to divide and conquer. But think about this nation, which rose from a bunch of ragtag militiamen to the pinnacle of the world in record time because of the contributions of all of our people. And I think it's time now for us in the Republican Party to wear with pride the history that we've had in the Black community and to make sure that we herald the things that were done. It was a party that was created as an abolitionist party. It was the party that advocated for the freed slaves to be able to have guns, to be able to protect themselves. It was the party that pushed for civil rights, for voting rights, for Blacks. And the list goes on and on. But, we have stepped back a little bit from that history, and we need to emphasize it more and more. And we will continue to grow our proportion, not only in the Black community, but in every community, because the vast majority of Americans have common sense and they want people to succeed. And they know that we're not each other's enemies. We just need to begin to emphasize that more and more, that the thing that makes a person is not the color of their skin, it's not the texture of their hair or the width of their nose, it is their brain. It is the most important organ system we have, and it is the thing that determines who you are. And that's exactly what Martin Luther King was talking about when he says he longs for the day when people are judged not by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. And we need to recognize that America is more than just a place. America is an idea about freedom and equality and justice for every single person, for respect of their ideals, for grasping our Judeo-Christian values, which say love your neighbor, not cancel your neighbor. We can get back there and we can lead the way to one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Thank you, and congratulations, Dr. Carson. I don't know how you expound upon that. That was amazing. So thank you so much for your words, but mostly your optimism and about unity and bringing people together. And that is what our party is about. And that is what this event is about. And I hope everybody leaves optimistic and inspired to work harder to bring America together, because we are in the greatest nation on earth. And we're so blessed to be here. And the freedoms we enjoy are so profound, and they are worth bringing people together for. And thank you for your leadership, Dr. Carson and Dr. Adams. We're so appreciative of you and our rising stars, and Paris and Katrina, everybody who brought this event together. Thank you so much. It has been a wonderful evening. It has been the largest gathering we have had for a Trailblazer Awards, even though it was done by Zoom, but it was a large event. So thank you everyone for joining. Please leave uplifted and inspired to go work for a better America and a better 2022 as we work harder to win back the House and the Senate. I have to leave on a political note, sorry. God bless each and every one of you, and God bless the United States of America. Thank you all again. We'll see you next year, and hopefully many more months in between. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairwoman. And I just want to encourage everyone to go and read. Want to encourage everyone to read the Chairwoman's op-ed on Black History Month that she wrote. It's a very important piece. The GOP Twitter account just retweeted it. It was featured in the Jacksonville Free Press, which is a Black newspaper, Black-owned newspaper, Scoop USA in Pennsylvania, as well as the Afro here in the DMV area. Read that op-ed, share that op-ed. It's an important work that she wrote, and it echoes some of the things that you heard from Dr. Carson and Katrina and others. I'd be remiss if I didn't acknowledge our Black Americans who serve on the 168, the Republican National Committee, Alan West, who is our chairman in Texas, Robin Armstrong, obviously, our national committeeman, Glenn McCall, who is out of South Carolina. Be sure to make sure everyone knows just two major things. Number one, the RNC, under the leadership of Ronna McDaniel and Tommy Hicks, who is our co-chair, have made a tremendous investment, a $2 million investment to ensure that the Black voices for Trump community centers that we had in the last cycle do not just end, they're coming back. That announcement was made today. There's a $2 million investment to ensure that communities in the Black community has these very important community centers, not just in the presidential election, but in this time right now. That's unprecedented. It's historic. It's never been done before, but under the leadership of Ronna McDaniel, it's happening. The second point that I want to make sure everyone knows that are on the Zoom call is that the RNC made a 6-figure investment in advertising for Black History Month in over 23 publications this month. And those ads were half-page, full-color ads that highlighted Black American leaders that were Republican in each of the locations, because we are wanting to let the Black community know that we weren't just here for the presidential election. We're staying, we're committed, we're intentional. We're going to be there because we believe your vote is worth going after. You can't get the vote unless you ask for it, and we're showing up. And that is something that goes to the heart of what this RNC is doing and will continue to do. So my last point is this: hold your heads up high. Be proud to be a Republican. Be proud of the America First agenda. Be proud to know that we stand on the shoulders of great men and great women in our party who have led. The Republican Party has a close, positive relationship with the Black community that we are going to continue to celebrate. We thank Pastor Little. We thank Dr. Armstrong. We thank Dr. Adams, Dr. Carson. We obviously thank Katrina Pierson and our rising stars. These individuals, for many of them, with their first time in national politics, the RNC gave them a chance, gave them a voice, gave them a position, and they did an incredible job safely knocking on doors, phone banking, hosting events, making a difference in the Black community. That's why that $2 million investment is important. So again, thank you all for tuning in to watch this and celebrate our two fantastic leaders who led on the front lines to get us to the point of having the coronavirus vaccine, Operation Warp Speed. These developments and the attention and the focus that was given to ensuring that the Black community was not forgotten. We thank Dr. Adams and we thank Dr. Carson, but we thank each and every one of you, grassroots supporters, elected officials, and everyone else on this Zoom call today, because we are a growing party, a more diverse party, and we are a better party because of it. So again, thank you all for watching. And again, thank you, Chairwoman Ronna McDaniel. Have a good evening.